Today on the podcast, we're diving into the mind of Adrian Barker. Adrian is a successful business owner, a podcaster, and also a social media expert who's amassed over 250,000 subscribers on YouTube. On this episode of the podcast, we have an incredible conversation, and you can expect to learn a couple of different things. One is how to run a business with ADHD. The next is how to deal with failure, because you're going to fail at some point, everybody does. And also, most importantly, how to amass an incredible, huge audience on YouTube. My name is Harrison Brown, and this is the Into the Mind podcast. If you're watching, I hope this helps. Adrian, so I've had the pleasure of working with you for a while now, but what I found interesting about you is you started in HR. Am I right in saying that? So how did YouTube come into this? How did the business come into this? Where did it start?
So I guess my first kind of career, let's say, was in music production. So I left uni. I went to uni, studied music at uni. Went to uni as a guitarist. Came out as I don't know what you'd call it, an engineer perhaps. I wouldn't quite say a producer. I probably thought of myself as a producer, but as an engineer, I loved the studio environment, the idea of recording music, the art behind recording music, not just writing a song, but how are you going to capture that song and essentially display it or present it through speakers. I fell in love with that art. And so I guess straight from uni, I got a job in a recording studio and then got headhunted for another studio. And kind of got a dream opportunity where a businessman bought a warehouse. He wanted a studio. And so he had an empty shell and a bucket load of money and just said, I need this.
Chucked it at you.
I can do that. I can build that. And so I designed this. It was probably a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, an 8-room studio with a massive live room, control room, dedicated vocal booths, practice rooms. And it's literally a warehouse, and then turned it into this thing. It was an incredible opportunity. And then I did like this I don't know what you call it, a masterclass in a massive studio production company in London that record like all the big rock bands and things like that. And they offered me a position, and I turned it down. And that's when I realized that maybe this isn't the right job for me. And I didn't know what I was going to do. And my dad said, I found a dream job, teach music production for Apple. And so I went over to Apple. Weirdly, I enjoyed the more HR learning development side of that role of developing other people and kind of coaching other people, as opposed to the technical side of teaching a technical thing like music production or photography and things like that. And that's when I moved into HR. I got headhunted again to join a company to run their learning development department. And that's when I became a full HR person. But although at the time I would have said I liked it, and I do have a passion for working with people to help people kind of get the most out of themselves, I've always been a technical person who's enjoyed systems, I don't know what you'd call it, just the editing side of stuff.
Analytical.
Yeah, the analytical side of things. I like understanding processes. I like seeing how you can take this technical process of editing something in a certain way and then applying that in an artistic way on something, be it audio or be it video. And so I always had this desire of doing something. I did sort of jump back. You're getting the life story now. The first company that I ran was my own music production company. That was around 2008 when the UK had a massive recession, and it killed everything. The company died. Had to move back home. So like age 25, it doesn't sound bad now because lots of mature people are moving back home because the economy is screwed. But back then, I'd moved out when I was 18, and so moving back when you're 25, 26 kind of sucked.
Demoralizing.
That's not where I wanted to be. But that's what I had to do because I was just outright broke. But that kind of destroyed my confidence with business and thinking that I could be an entrepreneur, which was always my dream. I always liked the idea of having a project and building something. And so I always felt a bit confined, a bit stuck in the HR job. And I used watches as like an an escape, a way of getting out, and used Instagram as a way of sharing whatever I learned about watches. And then it kind of just progressed into YouTube. I was stuck at home on a weekend. Wife had taken the kids away. I was supposed to be working because that's why I hadn't gone on holiday with them. I had cameras. I had a desk lamp. And I thought, let's make a video. Let's just do it.
Do you think part of that is because I think I kind of had the same thing in a way in school, dyslexic and ADHD.
Snap, yeah.
Which is me as well, yeah. I didn't perform at all.
Yeah.
I never got into uni, whereas all my pals were going off to uni. I got into college, dropped out very quickly. I hated being told that I was wrong.
Yes.
And it really shattered
absolutely.
my confidence.
Yeah.
Totally. So going into photography and visual art, like videography, YouTube, nobody tells you you're wrong. Yeah. It's up to you to figure it out. Do you think that was something that you kind of realized?
I think so. And also on that, I've always struggled with a bit of ego. I've always had this thought that I don't know if feeling that I'm better than someone else is the right way of phrasing it, but I've always thought I'm not as stupid or not as useless as I've been
told you were
made to feel through school. So dyslexic, you're never going to be good at reading. You're never going to be good at writing, depending on what your dyslexia impacts. But there's always been opportunities for me to get stuff wrong and teachers to tell me that's wrong. And so I feel like to counter that, my brain just said, nah, you're right. You can do this. And so I've always had this idea of just do it. Just give it a go. Weirdly, this job in HR kind of pushed me into this box, and I just got stuck. And looking back, I'd comfortably say I was depressed, just being stuck in this little job, trying to play the corporate role. And I had an interview. I needed to get another job. I needed more money. Had an interview at Visa to run their learning development department. I was in the interview just saying exactly what they wanted to hear. And I was like, are you happy to spend 80% of your time traveling? Yes. Are you happy to travel around the world? Yeah, that's what I want to do. It's like, no, I don't want to. That sounds horrible.
It's kind of like square peg, round hole.
Exactly. And I know what you want to hear because I've worked I worked for Apple. I've worked in big corporate companies. I know how to play this game. And I then went off and had lunch with their director of people. It's like having meetings with these big people. I thought, this isn't... I don't care. I don't care about this stuff. I just want to have fun and be creative. And then I got into listening to podcasts, audiobooks. I don't know how I came across these things, but I listened to Gary Vee's Crush It. I listened to Mark Ronson, I think his name is. Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. Are you allowed to swear on the podcast?
Oh, go for it. Yeah.
So I'm not giving a fuck. And just fantastic book of pure logic, but sometimes you just need to hear someone else say it, that it doesn't matter what other people think. It's if someone thinks you're a bit of a prick, maybe you're a bit of a prick. Are you going to change for them? No? Yeah. Absolutely not. And this is what I find funny about negative comments in social media. So I was like, you know nothing about watches. Well, why are you talking? Like, am I going to stop what I'm doing for a random person on the internet who has no credibility telling me to stop what I'm doing? It's literally like walking down the street. You got your briefcase, you're going off to your big office job, and some random dude comes up and says, don't go to work because you're crap. Are you going to listen to them? No. You're just going to think you're a crazy dude. Bye. But that's kind of what the subtle art of not giving a fuck kind of just gave this little thing in my head. Of like, it doesn't matter. Just try it. Yeah, this little light bulb of just, if you fail, dude, dyslexics, we've failed.
Yeah.
We're like 4 GCSEs, and it took me, I think it was 3 attempts to get English. Like, fuck it, I've done failure. It doesn't matter if I do it again. And so that's kind of like my outlook on life now is just try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, move on.
And do you think the dyslexia, ADHD kind of, in retrospect, because I know these things are like coming from, I've probably got a similar school background than you have, and I failed 90% of what I did.
Yeah.
Do you think that dyslexia, ADHD in retrospect is actually a good thing because it kind of broke you away from the norm? I know so many of my pals that are in jobs that they hate, but they're just doing them and then they live for the weekend, which I couldn't even imagine that. Do you think it helped in a way?
I think it did help massively. I think inherently, when you're dyslexic or you have ADHD or any neurotypical neurodivergence, you realize you're not quite right.
Yeah. Something's going on.
The system that you're in perhaps isn't for you. And so naturally you accept that maybe I have to find my own path. And I think that then translates later in life to, I don't have to have a 9 to 5. I don't have to have a job where I work for the weekend. And I can have a job that I enjoy, or I can just look at a situation and change it. So going back to the visa interview, I came out thinking, I don't want that job. I'd prefer to make videos for the 20,000 subscribers that I had on YouTube at the time, be broke, but be happy. That for me is a better lifestyle than traveling 80% of the time for, I don't know what the salary was, but it would have been a decent salary, an okay salary. I thought that's not passion. That's not happiness. Happiness isn't the salary. We're taught that we need to have a bigger paycheck. We're taught we need to work for the big corporate companies because that looks good. No, it's just your ego. You're not actually better off because your ego is happy. It's just superficial shit.
Do you think that's kind of societal norm? Is kind of pushing people into, you need a 9 to 5. You need, this is how it should be done, and there's no other way to do it. Maybe being dyslexic, having ADHD, you had to find another way.
Yeah.
So it pushed you. Whereas people that aren't dyslexic, don't have ADHD, they can kind of fit into it, but they don't exactly like it. Whereas you had to find a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are taught. I mean, the system needs people to want to have those jobs. Needs the economy can't work if everyone's entrepreneurial. The society just wouldn't work. But at the same time, the certain neurodivergencies have different benefits to them. And when you do have ADHD or you do have dyslexia, you are naturally more creative because you've always had to use that part of your brain to think, right, I don't know the answer to this. How can I figure out the answer? Or I don't have the ability to do this. How am I going to get to over here if I can't go the normal route?
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to find my own route here.
Do you ever get it when you're writing out a text and you can't spell a word and you have to reform the whole sentence in order to...
But that's exactly it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's exactly it. I don't know this word. Right. Cool. Yes. Rewrite the sentence. Or I'm going to write 5 words in place of that one thing because I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But that's the basic version of it. But that's essentially business. Is I've got this idea, or I've seen an opportunity over here. I'm here. How am I going to get there? We've been doing that all our lives, because we've had to be creative with however we try and answer something or don't.
Yeah.
And so, I think it's kind of hardwired into, if you have a non-typical brain. But also, I kind of felt like you hear all these, you often hear sob stories. I started this business because I had this, or I was successful because this happened in my life and it caused tragedy and I had to get away from it. And I remember sitting on the tube to my day job, thinking I've had a pretty cushy life. I mean, yeah, being dyslexic is pretty crap, but I went to a decent school. My parents are still together. My parents are still alive. Nothing happened in my childhood that was
traumatic.
That was traumatic.
Yeah.
So I needed to find a bit of fuel, and I thought maybe dyslexia is my fuel. And then I started to dig deep, and I kind of realized that no, there is anger in there. I've got this epic chip on my shoulder about dyslexia. I just kind of polyfilled over it, and I thought, no, I need that energy, and so I keep kind of scratching that itch, scratching that scab, to open that wound, to give me fuel to say, oh yeah, I have this chip on my shoulder. Let's go do something. Let's go show society who failed me at my. I'm technically stupid because I've only got 4 GCSEs. I had to redo English 3 times. I had to do a foundation degree rather than going straight to uni and doing a full degree. So I guess by society, I'm stupid, but no, I run a business now. I live an okay life, a life that typically I probably shouldn't have, based on the results.
It's funny you talk about the kind of fuel that you have, because I remember in my life when I first started posting on my Instagram photography, and it was shit because it was the first photos I took, but it was crap. But I was like, oh, I really enjoy this. I'll keep posting. And I remember a friend group that I was in at the time saying, this is really embarrassing. You can't do that. And they were like, you're an embarrassment to us. You can't do that. So I blocked all of them and was like, I'm totally moving away. And whenever I need fuel, I'm like, thinking about what they would think of what I'm doing, and if I don't succeed, I feel terrible because I know that they'll be watching, and that's kind of my fuel, adding fuel to the fire, so to speak.
Yeah.
Where did YouTube come into that? At what point did you put? Because we have cameras today, but we're veterans at sitting in front of a camera.
Yeah.
It can be quite a weird thing sitting in front of a camera. How did that come about?
So I've always I guess when I got my corporate career, so at Apple, I joined Apple as I used to teach people Logic Pro, which is the professional music production program, and that was a kind of one-on-one thing, and I got good at presenting, and then Apple sent me off to this horrible hotel near Heathrow, and they did this incredible 2-week course where you literally present for 8 hours of the day, just constant presenting. You do a 15-minute presentation, feedback, change it. 15-minute presentation, feedback, change it. And so it drills into your head, one, what good presenting looks like, but two, it drills into your head that it is going to be shit sometimes. Sometimes you have to listen to the feedback, and sometimes you have to actively seek the feedback to make the next one better. So it's always this mindset of what you've done, you've done it. It's that performance is done. So don't dwell on it, move on to the next one. Just make sure the next one is always better than the first one. So I simply apply that to YouTube. But to answer your question about talking to a camera, by the time it came to actually turning on the camera, I'd been presenting at Apple for 4 years. I was then headhunted to be a trainer at another company, and I presented to various people there, various groups, 1-on-1, 1 to 100, for I think another 3, 4, 5 years, and doing video conferences and video training sessions. So it was actually just completely normal. It was just
so you found it quite easy. It was quite natural for you.
It was, yeah. And also because I think the ADHD thing just means that I can literally just keep talking. I just so do feel free to just say, Adrian, cool, that's done 15 minutes on this. Let's move on.
Not at all. That's the same as me.
Yeah.
He can turn on a camera and I can walk away and I'll be like, no idea what I just said.
Yeah. It just falls out. My brain doesn't say, oh, there's an idea. Yeah, let's talk about that. Oh, no, yeah, that's a good idea.
Like, no idea. So, how did you learn because there's so many intricacies that come into YouTube. Like there's the videography, the SEO, there's the editing, there's the color grading. There's so many like little things that you just don't even think of.
Yeah.
Did you just, you just thought, right, I'm going to start, and if I get it wrong, I'll just learn on the way? Was that your kind of...
It goes back to the Apple mindset of do it. And so, sorry, the first day at Apple, literally took me onto the shop floor and said, cool, here's your customer, go teach them. Like, what? What do you mean? Go teach them something. This is my first day. You're not going to teach me how to do it? No, we're not going to teach you. I want you to do it because then we have a basis to start on. Yeah. So that was my idea. Was just fucking do the video.
Yeah.
Look at the video and make a note of what you don't like and just take one thing and change it next time. I didn't like the audio. Cool. So let's change the audio. Next time, I don't like the lighting. Cool. Let's explore what good lighting looks like. And so it's all about in HR. You look at it as it's a kind of a coaching model where you could talk to someone about coaching, or someone's come to you and they want to be coached, and they say, I want to be like Joe Bloggs over there. Cool. So let's write down who you think you are and who you think Joe Bloggs is. What are the similarities? What are the differences? And how are we gonna bridge those gaps between the differences? And that's essentially what I did with my videos. First video was absolutely terrible. I tried to record it on a Fuji X100 Mark 1, I think it was, and that was just terrible. So I ended up just using my iPhone so it was using a back camera on the iPhone facing towards me, lightning cable into the laptop so I could see the preview. The microphone was too far away on the camera, and so I used the laptop, push the screen right down, and the laptop microphone was right next to me. And that was it. That was literally the setup. Yeah. And I thought, fuck it, let's do it. The next one will be better. It doesn't matter how shit this one is.
Yeah.
And the fun thing is, you're either going to be successful and look back and laugh at the first one, or you're not going to be successful and it doesn't matter.
Because you still tried it.
Because you tried it and no one saw it, so who cares? And so that's kind of how I just do things. Just try it and improve it.
And just keep going until
you
think,
going. Yeah.
Either I don't want to do this anymore, or I've actually made a success of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So many of my friends went to uni, went to college, wherever they went, and they got degrees that they hate. And actually, a lot of what I learned through YouTube and social media is so much more valuable than the degrees they've got now.
Yes.
Because SEO was huge. editing's huge. Editing is huge. Photoshop's huge. There's so many like different. You don't even think of it when you're doing the videos that you do because it's second nature to you now. But there's so many like intimacies that are so relevant in society nowadays.
Yeah.
And a lot of, we'll get onto AI, but a lot of what AI is doing is replacing the non-creativity part.
Mm-hmm. If
If you're not creative, AI can probably replace you.
Yes.
What are your kind of thoughts on that?
I think I think it's very powerful. So there was a transition in Apple when Apple took the head of Final Cut when it was Final Cut 7, I think it was. They took the head of Final Cut 7, the Apple's professional video editing software, took him and told him to build a very simple consumer level video editing software. And he built iMovie. And iMovie was incredible. It was so intuitive. It just made sense.
Free.
And it was free. And it was powerful. It could do it. And it just made sense. Anyone who just could use a word processor could open up iMovie and understand it. And then Steve Jobs thought, cool, why is Final Cut so shit then? Because you literally had to have a degree to learn Final Cut 7. It was horrible. And so that's why Final Cut, the version of Final Cut 10, Final Cut X, looks the way it is because of iMovie. So I feel like AI is just the next version of that. Is jobs don't have to be as complex as they are. I feel the whole lawyer solicitor industry is a complete farce. They don't need to say from henceforth or forthwith and all that bollocks and from here on in. It's like, no, just speak English. You only say that because you want a job. If you didn't talk in this absolute gobbledygook, you wouldn't have a job. I kind of feel like AI is just this next version of cut the crap. Let's just if we have a device that can make things easier, let's just make things easier. That's just how it is. Yes, there's a societal concern around those who have access will get wealthy, but we've seen this all before with those who knew HTML and could build websites, and then the sudden boom. Yeah. But then now everyone knows HTML and everyone can build a website. And so that's no longer a required job. It's just the next version. I think it's quite exciting. We've spoken about AI editing podcasts. No one likes editing a podcast. Yeah. and so there's an absolute benefit in that. There's an element of AI could remove the need for solicitors and lawyers. You could upload a contract and say, what areas, if I want to keep, I don't know, royalties or keep overall control of X, tell me if there's a clause in this contract that damages that control that I want, and AI could tell you. Or if I do X, will I get in trouble? And it'll tell you. So I think it's quite powerful.
The contract that we've literally got for this podcast, I'll show you after. We had to do some degree pokery, but it's AI written.
But this is it. The whole thing. No, exactly. And also AI is just a bigger extension of the calculator. You're telling a computer to do a task that you don't want to do. Cool. AI is just 100 years or maybe 50 years after that. Yeah. Maybe 40. I don't know. A bit of time after that.
And when you started on YouTube, so you've kind of described this process of you just do it. That's kind of the, without being Nike, just do it.
No, but I've actually fallen in love with Nike.
Yeah.
Because I love it. It is just about just do it. And I can't remember who kind of dissected or analyzed the just do it. But Nike isn't about winning. Nike's about getting on with it. Yeah. Give it a go. Try it. If it doesn't work, either try again or move on and do something different. It's not about, you have to be the fastest. It's about, we want to, this isn't sponsored by Nike. I'm sure you'd like it if Nike was sponsoring it.
We wouldn't be in my lounge if
But it's about celebrating those who give it a go. And I think that's what life should be about. But I kind of feel like perhaps school or maybe my experience of school was, don't give it a go because you're going to fuck it up.
Yeah, you get bullied for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'll feel silly.
We need to pause this podcast to bring to you a word from our sponsors. Chisholm Hunter are the sponsors of the Into the Mind podcast, and without Chisholm Hunter, we would not be sitting here today. They have helped support us in a venture that is totally new to them. And I think for a family business that's been around for over 165 years, that's quite incredible. Chisholm Hunter supply luxury jewelry and watches. And all of my jewelry, including this chain, these rings, this watch, are all from Chisholm Hunter. So if you're looking for something for yourself or something for a partner, head to chisholmhunter.co.uk. So you obviously had this, like, the start of the YouTube career was kind of very homemade setup. Is there any failures that you experienced within the first couple of months of YouTube that kind of set the scene for the rest of it? You know, what learnings did you take from those failures in the first? Because I failed so much.
I think the big one, I'm not sure there'd be failures. I just think they are just learnings. I just think it goes back to the idea you've just got to try. So the big one was thinking I need to be like the people who I watch. And so I'd always watch Casey Neistat. I'd always watch, this was the early days of Peter McKinnon, but always watch Peter McKinnon. Always watch, not always watch, but appreciate the energy of Logan Paul. I thought he was, I didn't like the character of Logan Paul, but I did enjoy the energy that he could muster up and how he could turn everyday life into
something fun,
something entertaining. And so I'd watch these people and think, all right, cool. So I'm enjoying talking about watches. If I'm going to do this seriously, then I should probably try and be a YouTuber. And so I then tried to be high energy. I tried to be perhaps a bit louder. I tried to, I just tried to emulate those who I followed. And I think that's where YouTuber burnout or social media burnout comes in, when people pretend to be something that they're not. And I wouldn't say that I necessarily got burnt out. I remember watching videos back thinking, that's not me. Like, who is that?
It's like an act.
Yeah, it is an act. And it's hard to sustain an act. And so that, I guess that was, and it honestly took me a good few years to figure this out. It probably wasn't until I moved to Scotland a few years ago that I realized, no, just be you. And so that was a big eye opener. And I do find it funny when I look back and I think, let's stop trying to be Casey. Stop trying to be, stop trying to be that cool guy who you'd like to be. Just be you. And it always comes back to the idea of when someone tells me that they don't like me or don't like my content, that's fine. Like the content isn't for you, then that's totally cool. If someone says, "Oh, why are you talking about this thing?" I don't care, or I don't care about this, don't care about that. That's fine. It's like this isn't tax. You don't have to watch it. You don't have to follow. You don't have to listen. And that's just the kind of mentality now is I make content for the people who want to watch it, and if they don't, then it's really not a problem. And so I guess that was my biggest learning. From a failure point of view. My whole kind of concept is drinking coffee, or I guess my tagline, if I was a marketing thing, is drinking coffee, talking watches. And the idea around that is it was a bit of a sticking your fingers up at all the Instagram accounts who would have a Rolex draped over a champagne glass or something, or a champagne bottle. And it's I want to talk about watches, but I'm not in that champagne world. I work in HR, so I have to ask my wife if I want to buy a watch. That's yeah. If I buy a watch, we're probably not going to go on holiday that year. So it's one of those things. And there were guys on YouTube who'd be like, "Oh, I'm unboxing my fourth Patek this week," and so this is me opening it whilst drinking champagne. If that's your life, then cool. But I just didn't. I felt like that was very elitist, and that isn't what a lot of these watches are about. It's about tools. It's about activities, and it's just about enjoying nice things. So my tagline was drinking coffee, because coffee's, I feel, the complete opposite to champagne. It then made sense when a coffee company reached out and said, "Do you want to collaborate?" And it was quite a cool dude who was running the coffee company in California. Bixby Coffee, and we had a big old chat, loads of chats about should we do this. We actually just spoke about watches, to be honest, for most of the Zoom calls. But then we got into the topic of should we collab? Should we launch a Bark and Jack coffee brand? I thought, yeah, that's kind of the dream. So spent ages trying out different coffee blends and branding and looking at the infrastructure. Did loads of test orders. I thought this makes sense. This feels like the right thing to do. I legitimately like coffee. This is high-end coffee. Let's do it. And even after all the testing, I hadn't appreciated how difficult it was to ship a food product from California that was grown in Guatemala, I think it was, for a company based in the UK post-Brexit around the world. And so it was never going to be a money maker. The margins were tiny. I think
it's passion.
It was passion. It was branding. It was a bit of fun. But it just turned into an absolute ball ache because it immediately went to becoming our number one sold product. We sold so much coffee, and that was the failure of it. Is that there wasn't enough return in it to call it a commercial opportunity, but the admin work and letting customers down. If you think about shipping, if I'm based in the UK, someone in Germany watching my videos think, oh, cool, yeah, I'll support Bark and Jack. I like coffee. I'll buy some coffee. Why is the coffee taking a month to come from California? And so it was really quite tricky, the logistics of it all. So we had to knock on the head. But I don't regret doing it because it was a fun thing. But technically, that was a failure.
But you learned a lot from it.
And absolutely. And it's kind of been my whole mindset around this time of me doing business. I remember when I launched watch straps and my wife would make the little socks. I wanted to try and be as eco-friendly as possible and have something different. So rather than sending the straps in plastic or something that in packaging that someone just throw away, I designed this little watch. I called it a watch sock. It was simply a strap sock. It's just a fabric pouch. And the idea was that the straps would arrive in this little fabric pouch, and then you could use it to store a watch. Put your watch on your sock drawer at home, put it in a pouch instead, and it'll just add a little bit of protection. It's a little bit of fun. The plan was we'd make them out of old clothes. So rather than using new fabric, let's recycle old fabric. So we ended up having to go around all these blooming secondhand shops, charity shops, buying up chinos and things like that, and cutting them up. And my wife said, so how many orders do you think we'll make on the first weekend? And I thought, let's get 25 pouches done. And she was doing it all by hand. She went on a sewing course to learn how to sew and bought a sewing machine. She was just sitting in the kitchen sewing all these socks. And I had to turn the shop off within about 2 or 3 hours of launching because we'd broken even within about an hour.
Oh, God.
And I think we had about 300 orders. So that the initial 24 socks just went like that. And what I hadn't thought of, I hadn't even thought about how I'm going to ship a strap to Taiwan. How do I ship a strap to Australia, to India? I just put on, let's just tick. Yeah, I can send something anywhere.
But learning on the job like that is sometimes a better way of doing it, because a lot of people will start these companies and then stop because they don't understand that, instead of keeping it going.
I always get emails from people or DMs from people saying, I want to start a YouTube channel. What microphone do you suggest? Doesn't matter. Just, if you've got something that records sound, just do it. You'll figure out the rest later on. What camera should I buy? Use your iPhone. See if you like it. Change it. Research. Try something. Buy something that you can afford to try it, because you'll change it. Whatever you buy, however much research you do, it's never going to be enough. What soundproofing should I use? Don't. Just get on with it. Don't worry about the echo. People will listen. Yeah. And so it's one of those things. I could have sat there for ages and made a checklist of need to find out what the export code is to send a nylon strap to India. I need to find out if this country has import tax. No, just do it.
Learn on the job.
Yeah, learn on the job. You'll get it wrong. You'll mess up, but just make sure that you focus on fixing it so that it doesn't keep messing up. That's kind of just what I do.
So your kind of mantra is like, I'm a normal guy that talks about normal stuff with watches. I'm not this elite billionaire that can buy 8 Pateks a month and keep going. Do you have any form of, because within the industry that I'm in as well, you get some really, 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 really wealthy people. And I've experienced it when I worked in the shop. Do you have any form of kind of, because you get invited to these events with Zenith or Oris or wherever it is, do you get any kind of like imposter syndrome around these people?
Yeah, I get massive imposter syndrome. And that's kind of my connection with my explorers. If ever I get a sense of this might be a bit awkward, I'm a little bit autistic as well, and so when I go to like a big event, I'm like, this isn't right. Let's just go home and play Call of Duty. But I kind of feel like I don't tell my friends about my channel. They might have seen it. Sometimes I get DMs from people, oh, this is what you're doing now. So I feel like my channel is my little project and no one's looking. And so I can just do whatever I want. If someone invites me to a watch event, I'll just go. If I make a fool of myself, cool. No one knows who I am. It doesn't quite work when you have a quarter of a million subscribers, but that's the mindset that I have is that you just get on with it. But yeah, imposter syndrome constantly. And I was at a watch event with Oris. Oris do this yearly snowboarding event, which is absolutely awesome. Best way of doing a watch event is about 5% watches and then 95% just having fun. I was at this table with a whole lot of proper journalists, like guys who write for the Times, GQ, the Telegraph, like people who actually study journalism and do it properly. And I brought up the idea of imposter syndrome. And one of the journalists for, I think it was T3 or one of the tech magazines, is like, everyone gets imposter syndrome. I still get imposter syndrome. I was like, oh right, but you're like a cool,
big
fine.
boss, yeah.
But it's funny because he said it as just such a throwaway comment, but I've actually held on to that. Is that if ever I'm feeling like I've got imposter syndrome, I just look around the room and say, all of you bastards have it as well.
Yeah,
let's just get on with it.
It's just so we can deal with it better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, let's make the most of this situation. And I think that's just the trick in life is look around, see what opportunities there are, and just make the most of it.
And that's Grant was saying that the other day. Grant Wilson, who's the UK director of IWC, we both know him. I asked him the same question because I was interested. He's marketing a team of, I'll need to fact check myself, but maybe 8, 9, 10. And I asked him if he had that imposter syndrome. He said, always, but it makes me work twice as hard because I need to know that the man next to me isn't working as hard as me so that I'll get there. And I think it was a really valuable lesson because everyone feels that way, but just use it to your advantage. Instead of being like, oh, I'm going to go and I can't be here, use it to your advantage. And you're pretty similar to me in terms of, I hate events. I'm so awkward.
Yeah.
Like Drew's been to events with me and I'll literally be sitting there sweating in the corner like, I don't want to be here. But it's a necessary thing to do and you need to keep pushing yourself out your comfort zone. Have you ever dealt with kind of anxieties or anything like that, or depression or?
Yeah, massively. I remember my first sense of like a legit full-on panic attack from anxiety. I remember seeing, so when I had my day job in HR, my boss worked 3 days a week, so that meant I had 2 days in a week in the office without my boss, and I had a desk in the corner, so that meant that 2 days a week I was working on YouTube. I was prepping videos, doing research.
No one could see you. So
no one could see me. My computer, my screen was facing out the window, so it was game on. And I remember opening up YouTube and seeing what was going on, and everything was kicking off about, I think it was like Watch of the Wonders or something. I had no idea about Watch of the Wonders. And there was all this content being made. And then I saw another YouTube channel. It's probably like Jory Goodman, the Timetable, or someone like that, Teddy Bodzer, was doing a video. And I thought, shit, that's what I should be doing. I shouldn't be here at my desk job. I'm missing out. I'm wasting this opportunity, and I had this pain down my arm. I had this like proper. It was so bizarre. It was triggered by that situation, but obviously a result of perhaps lots of other stresses of wanting to do something, but kind of just feeling this genuine feeling of being trapped in something that I want to do, and I can see paradise over there. I just want to make watch videos. I want to be over there, but I'm stuck doing this shit here. And so I actually left the office, went and sat in the park, got my phone out, and made a video about all the watch releases on my iPhone. And that's my whole point about fuck tech. Just get on with it. Get your phone out. And I made a video about all the new watch releases on my phone in my lunch break. That was about 3 hours long.
You didn't know that though. It's fine.
Exactly. But so that was kind of like my first feeling of one, I have to be in control of what's going on, but also I was kind of talking to myself saying, it isn't that big. If you miss this opportunity, it's not that big. And it doesn't matter. There's going to be more watches to talk about next month. And there's sometimes a sense of feeling like I've missed out on an opportunity because I wasn't invited to this press event, or I wasn't able to make a video on that. Like, it doesn't matter. I always tell myself, how am I going to feel after the event? I probably won't care because I'll be working on the next thing. Cool. Let's take that feeling. Let's make that happen now
and use it.
It's like, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
It's funny you were saying that. anxiety with you is kind of linked to feeling trapped. I've experienced exactly the same thing. And I remember being 17 years old sitting in the office because I didn't get into uni or college, so I went straight into work. And it's a bit different, but all my pals were off at uni, experiencing life.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there thinking, I've really screwed up here. And I was sitting in the office in front of a computer that I didn't want to do. And I thought, you know what, fuck it. I'm going into photography and video where I can do exactly what I want in my own time and nobody can tell me that I'm wrong. And I probably worked twice as hard on that because it was in my own time.
Yes.
And I wasn't trapped by anything. Do you kind of feel the same way with YouTube? Because you can be sitting on your desktop, open it up at 11 a.m. and work until 1 a.m. You're not confined. Do you think it comes down to if someone tries to put structure around you, you kind of freak out?
Yeah, it was a really fascinating kind of life event for me. The realization that I'm not happy with life. I'd have my day job, come home, have dinner with the kids, get the kids to bed, and then I'd waste 3 hours getting lost in the world of Grand Theft Auto, GTA. Yeah. And I'd just play and I'd create the life that I wanted in GTA. I'd watch a lot of car YouTube channels. Actually, TGE TV was one of the channels that I used to really follow, and I loved that scene. I'm now mates with Tom, so I actually told him this. But I used to, if I saw a car in their videos that I liked, I'd go into GTA and I'd build that car, and I'd pretend that I was part of that gang.
Yeah.
Then I wanted a promotion at work, and my boss, the company, agreed to pay for me to go on a course. The deal was a $5,000 course. The deal was, you pass this course, we'll pay for it. We'll pay this $5,000. If you fail, you'll pay $5,000. I thought, I am not paying $5,000 for a course that is only going to benefit me if I keep this job. And so for about 18 months, I didn't turn a PlayStation on. I came home, did the day job, came home, had dinner, kids to bed, and then I'd study until 1 in the morning, 12:1. Every weekend, I'd be the South Bank Centre in London, and I'd be on my own just studying. And I fucking nailed that course. I've never worked so hard in my life. And I've actually only just turned on the PlayStation again, like 5-6 years later, because after that course finished, that was when I started YouTube, because I realized Gary Vee's right. If you're sat playing PlayStation, watching Netflix, and moaning about your day job, turn the fucking thing off and change your life. And that doing that course made me realize that there is an extra 3 hours in your day. And so from that time on, I'd do the day job, come home, dinner, kids to bed, and I'd edit until I'd record a video, then edit it and put it out that night. It was shit, but it was a hustle, and I'd work until 1 in the morning. And there was this. I'd be on the tube on my phone researching. I'd be writing thoughts, writing video ideas down, specking things, and that was just life. At the weekends, I'd do a little bit with the family, but I'd just graft. It was a full-on hustle, full-on graft, and I did that for about 18 months, 2 years, just to get videos out. Because I learned, I can't remember where I heard this, but there was this thing around YouTube where you have to hit 100 videos. Once you've hit 100 videos, you've saturated the platform enough to get to start growing properly,
sustainably.
Yeah, sustainably. Yeah. I think it's changed now, because you could put one really good video out and that could go viral. So I think it's changed a bit. But back then it was I wanted to get that 100 videos. So I was doing 3 videos a week and working constantly because I just knew I could put that PlayStation on. I could escape to my made up world, or I could make my own world. I could find this level of happiness that is actually legit, actually real life. And now I tell people I feel like I've won the lottery, because I literally if someone said, Adrian, here's a winning lottery ticket, go get your 100 millions, I'd be making videos about shit I find fun. And so although I don't have the money, I've got the time, and I'm doing the shit that I find fun. And it's all because of that course, all because of the realization that I don't have to escape life in a video game. Although now I quite like shooting people.
There's this perception, and people have talked to me about it, especially when as you know, there was a viral moment for me on Instagram, and everyone gravitates towards you and say, "Oh my god, I can't believe you're doing what you love for money, for a job. It looks so easy. All you do is travel the world," or in my case, it would be travel the world before, and in your case, all it is making videos. But I think there's so much more to it that people don't see.
Yes.
And there's the hundreds of videos that you've made before they've seen that video. That's the polished, finished article. is there any steps, is there any tips that you can give anyone in terms of getting it to that polished stage of being the finalized piece that someone sees?
I think it's all about analyzing. I think it's not about throwing something out there and then hoping for the best and moving on to the next thing. I watch my videos back constantly. I'll put a video up and immediately the first thing I'll do, I'll watch it and then it will go live, and then I'll watch it again as if the live version is going to be any different to the one that I saw before. But I'll keep watching it, and I obviously know exactly what's happened because I edited the whole bloody thing. But it's about analyzing it and thinking, well, what would I change? But also, what's too much? Did I need to color grade that bit of A-roll? Does anyone care if if the tone of my skin is ever so slightly purple? No one gives a shit. Is that lighting right? No one cares. No. PewDiePie, one of the biggest channels in the world, records on a fucking webcam. in the most boring room ever. It doesn't matter. Look at Mr. Beast, the biggest channel in the world. The lighting's not right. The sound's pretty good. They probably record on all right cameras, but it's not about the color grade. It's not about the cinematics. So I think we often get caught up in the stuff that just doesn't matter. Peter McKinnon used to talk about this a lot, that getting it done is better than getting it right or getting it perfect. You can waste so much time. And this was one of the things around that I found challenging in a studio. If a client would pay me to do 5 days of work, it's like, yeah, but I could just keep tweaking, or just going back. So no, you have to give yourself a deadline, and you have to stick to that deadline. If it's not right, I mean, there's obviously a balance. You don't want to put out something that's going to damage your credibility or damage your branding, but at the same time, you don't need to overthink it. You just need to figure out at what level is good enough. It's YouTube. It's not Hollywood. And I think a lot of people get stuck in that idea of it's got to be something epic. It doesn't always have to be.
Is it Peter McKinnon that kind of inspires you? Would you say he's an inspiration?
Yes. Yeah, I know, embarrassingly told him. He's a big watch guy. He's got some epic watches. Yeah, he is. Because I don't want this to sound insulting, but he's just him. He's got sometimes messy hair, sometimes a lot of stubble, sometimes he shaves his hair off, sometimes he's just sat in a hoodie, and you see a lot of people talking about. For those who don't know, I'm sure lots of people know. Peter McKinnon talks about cameras and photography tips, and that world's often by someone sat very conservative. Photography is very similar to watches. A lot of us are a bit weird. We're not always socially aware. We're kind of reclusive, perhaps. And
I could agree with that.
And the photography world, people who enjoy cameras are sometimes a bit odd. I am one of those. And he breaks the mold. Mm-hmm. He's very charismatic. He's very cool, and he is just himself. He isn't an act. He's just high energy, and so I took inspiration from him just being unapologetically him. And there was a comment on Reddit that was a trolling comment, but I took so much pride in it. I saw it probably 3 or 4 years ago. I like going to Reddit because Reddit's such a toxic place that it's kind of gone off the scale of toxicity that it's actually just hilarious. There's a Reddit group called Watch Circle Jerk, and it's just hilarious. But there was a comment on a Reddit group that said, I can't stand that Adrian Bark and Jack guy because he's ruined luxury for me. He's made luxury too accessible to the normal person. I thought, fucking A. That's exactly what I wanted to do. That is mission complete. Because this stuff, Rolex make 1 million watches a year. They're one of the biggest watch manufacturers in Switzerland. That's not luxury. Yeah. It's only luxury because we're told it's luxury. And they're not expensive. 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 pounds for a watch is a lot of money, but when you're in a world of where there's millions for watches, it's not expensive. And it's like the economy's fucked, so perhaps not now, but a couple of years ago, you could have easily got a credit card and walked into a Rolex AD and got yourself a Rolex. And so the idea that this stuff has to be for the elite, has to be for the wealthy, it's just ridiculous. ironically, the wealthiest people I know don't wear watches like this. It's
got a Casio G-Shock on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny old thing.
and what it is funny, that perception around the I get this on YouTube all the time. There's this huge perception that Rolex is the rarest brand in the world, and I keep reinforcing. Listen, I'm a Rolex fanboy. I love Rolex.
Me too. Most of my watches are Rolex, I'm just not.
It's not factually true though. Like,
exactly.
It's like I think the stat now is 1.2 million watches a year.
Right.
So I keep reinstating in the videos, like, listen, they are what they've done for the watch industry is amazing.
Oh, absolutely,
it's incredible, but they're not rare.
Yeah.
So don't call them rare when they're not rare.
Yeah.
If you look at Vacheron that produced 30 to 40,000 watches a year, and people are saying, "Oh, they're quite common." It's like, well, you've got Rolex, and like, what's going on?
Exactly. Yeah. Vacheron, legit hot horology, legit in-house, legit luxury, and genuinely rare with regards to volume compared to someone like Rolex. No, it is a really funny one, but we're all sold on branding. I'm a sucker for brands. Anyway, I'm wearing Nike shoes. I'm wearing a Rolex. So we're all suckers for that stuff. But you also have to be able to take a step back and think, what is this really? And so it's a funny world, man. But I also love the idea that people think that their watch makes them a higher status.
Yeah.
No one's looking at your wrist.
Oh no.
No one gives a shit.
No.
And it's like when
in London.
Apart from that, that's the only thing that will give you status is whether you're going to get mugs or not.
I suppose it's all based on marketing and what
it is all marketing. It is all marketing.
But what they do really well, I've seen this with Hamilton. You remember when we went to Zermatt together?
Yeah, I still haven't edited that video.
Yeah, see it still.
So
just for context, so Adrian and I went to Zermatt, and Hamilton put us on this helicopter. We literally got off the plane, got on this like 4x4 beautiful car with the CEO of Hamilton Watches, then got on a helicopter to Zermatt. Then the next day we woke up and went on a helicopter ride round the Matter. It was unbelievable, and that experiential bit is what draws me to Hamilton now.
Yeah.
I know for a fact, and we've got some stuff coming up with Hamilton that I can't say, but but I know for a fact I will be getting a new Hamilton because of that experience. And I think that's kind of what you do on the YouTube in a way, because you give people an experience about watches, even though it's your opinion.
Yeah.
They're experiencing it through the screen and think, actually, I like Adrian, he's quite cool, I'm gonna get the same watch. Have you ever thought about that? Because you have millions of viewers on that channel.
That stuff scares me. Like when you the Black Bay's obviously been a massively popular watch, and I always get scared. Oh, I bought this because of you. It's like, no, don't.
I'm wrong.
Just buy it because you want it. If you liked my pictures, then I appreciate that. Yeah. But no, just you. Yeah, don't do that. Yeah. Or just, I don't know. I always feel I don't know, that stuff scares me.
I'm just going to pause here really, really quickly to say, if you're watching this and if you've ever taken any value or enjoyed this podcast, I would really appreciate it if you could hit that like button, 5-star button, subscribe button, whatever it is, wherever you are, it would be much appreciated. We're trying to get to our goal of 10,000 subscribers this year, which is quite high, but I think we can get there with this incredible community. So if you could help us get there, I'd really, really appreciate it. Anyway, let's get back to it. Anyone can sit down for a dinner and have a glass of champagne and talk about watches.
Yeah.
But not everyone can go up in a helicopter or go diving, whatever it is that you want to do. That's the stuff that people remember.
Yeah,
and I think that it's really important for brands to kind of do that. And to make it memorable for people. Bring it back to YouTube. You don't film every event you go to. It's only the ones that you like that are cool.
Yeah. If there's a story, if there's something happening and there's a story that I think is interesting, or I think other people might find interesting, then I'll capture it. If I think the watch is nice, I'll capture it. Other than that, I just think I'll just enjoy the drink and canapes and probably go home early.
Yeah.
Or I'll just leave. There's been events where I just think, I don't know. I've got work to do.
Yeah.
And that's half the challenge is, especially with long events, is you often go out there with journalists and it's their job to take a couple of pictures and then go back to their office and write an article. And the time it takes for them to edit those pictures, write an article, they'll still beat you when it comes to editing your video. Even if I go back to my hotel room that night, which I do, and I'll edit the video, start editing there and then, it takes so long to do that process. And watch brands don't take that into consideration. So I went to a Zenith event a couple of weeks ago, And one of the days was going out for dinner in Glasgow. It was an event in Scotland. Go out for dinner in Glasgow and then go whiskey tasting in a distillery. It's like, I've got work to do. No, give me the watch. I don't give a shit about this fancy dinner stuff. That's
You just get it edited.
zero interest for that.
Yeah.
I want to get some nice shots. So I left the group, took the watch, went to my studio and shot the watch. And that's what I would have done it in a hotel room otherwise. Because it's the press elements are nice. It's always nice to go out for a good dinner. But that's not what gets the job done. It's all BS.
Yeah. So, what's your process? So I know for me, when I used to edit my own videos for just my YouTube channel, for example, the Norway video that I remember you commented on it ages ago, I would listen to the music again and again and again and again, and then I'd storyboard the music.
Right.
And then that's kind of my process when editing. What's your first? Do you get the music first? Because a lot of people do that, or do you storyboard it first, or what's your process?
I edit the A roll first, so I get the story done, and then I get the story done, and I often think in my head, I'll have the music in my head of how I think this section will work, and that's often how I shoot the B-roll. If I think, right, I want to have a catchy hook for the intro, and then cut to some sort of B-roll, what YouTubers call cinematic stuff, and I'll have the music in my head of how that goes, and then I'll shoot the B-roll around that concept. The challenge is, I feel music is so emotive, or connects to emotion, that by the time it comes to editing, having done the story, the music will have changed. And so the music that I want will have changed. And so I hate choosing music, because I'll have an idea in my head of what that is, and I'll just be going through Epidemic Sound or not Frame.io. There's another one, Artlist, and just scrolling for hours trying to find the music, and then cutting it, and then put it in a timeline. Do the A roll, do the B roll to the music. Wake up the next morning. Let's try a different one.
Did you have to recut the whole thing?
Recut the whole thing.
I remember having a client back in the day. I was doing a video edit, and I did this epic cinematic video with like this song. And they went, yeah, we love the video, but you can change the song. And I thought, fuck.
No, it's not that easy.
Video gone. So
well, maybe with AI it will be, because it would put the cuts, but it's,
It was wild. But I remember, it's funny you said that, because I remember being in Zermatt with you. I can't remember who we were shooting for. We went to the ice caves.
Oh, that was Explorer 2 with Chronix.
That was it. And we went to these ice caves. And I remember you went away for a while just to vlog and do some stuff. But I remember you humming a song at that point, and I thought, I bet you that's the song he's using in the video, and he's just humming it in order, because you were trying to like figure out how to do this video, and you were humming a song, and I'm sure it was the song you used in the video.
That's probably just my ADHD. My whole life I've got
that's not purposeful.
I've got music in my head, and parents call it my musical Tourette's. There's always a soundtrack.
What do you think's the coolest event you've gone to, in terms of like what's the coolest experience you've had with the watch brand?
The coolest with a watch brand, from a perhaps career perspective. So the first interview I ever did was Rolf, the CEO of Oris.
That's very cool.
I went to a Red Bar event. He was there, and it was one of those situations of ignore the autism, ignore the sense of anything, any anxiety. There's a CEO there. You've got a watch channel. You've got a camera. You've got a shitty £5 light that you bought off Amazon. Let's do an interview. I said, Rolf, can just quick 5-10 minutes on camera? Yeah, cool. So I sat down, ripped open a paper bag and used that as a bounce for the light. Shot this £5 light, the paper bag, at Rolf and myself, and he laughed at the concept of this. Had a little microphone there, and there was some weird relationship that started. That was like, we're both just getting on with this. We're both just making do and making stuff happen. And it was always a cool relationship. They then launched a significant watch, their ProPilot X, in Shanghai, and Rolf wanted me there. Rolf told his PR team, like, let's get Adrian there. And so I got this invite. I thought, Shanghai, that's epic. First class flight out to Shanghai. I had like proper bed that went down. But I didn't sleep at all. There was a free bar. Coffee at 12 at night. Yeah, let's do that. Fresh cake. Yeah, let's go.
Clotted cream.
Exactly. It was hilarious. But then rocked up at Shanghai and got a taxi with this journalist from the Times. I thought, oh, right, this is like a legit event. and then sat down for dinner at the big dinner, and I was sat next to the CEO of Oris, Rolf, but sat next to the CEO. On the other side was Cole from Houdinki. Oh, fuck, this is happening. This is like
big.
Yeah, I'm not just some shitty. I was still a shitty YouTuber, but this. I'm part of the gang here, and that was a cool moment of just realization that something's working, and that was pretty cool.
The recognition.
It was a recognition, yeah. And perhaps in that moment I didn't have this imposter syndrome. It was just I'm just going with the flow, and this is where the flow's taking me. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of nice.
It's quite funny you say the recognition thing. I think that throughout my career in photography and video, I was working up to a point because I wanted to work with Canon, and that's who I wanted to work with. And any other job, I'd kind of be like, it's not really Canon.
Yeah.
As soon as I got the job with Canon and that kind of recognition hit, they were like, oh my God, one of the biggest camera brands in the world wants to work with me. I kind of thought, I've done it. I was like, have you had that at all? Like, I don't mean to be, it sounds bad saying that, but I do think that you hit a point, you do everything you wanted to do, and you think, I kind of feel demotivated again. Like, I feel like I've kind of hit the wall. Have you ever had that where you've worked with, you've got to a certain point, and then you think, I don't know what else to do?
Yeah. There's been a couple of moments where it's hard to know which direction. So it's hard to say stuff without sounding like I'm blowing my own trumpet. There's been times where publications have tried to buy Bark and Jack or buy my YouTube channel, and you sit there thinking, oh, this could be fun. Like, what watches could I buy now? What car could I go get? Do I retire? But then you sit and think, well, no, but that's not what it's about. It isn't about the money. If it is, then I would have taken the money. I've turned down. I've got an episode coming out soon where I turned down $300,000, which in hindsight I kind of regret. But but that's ultimately the thing is, it isn't about the money, but the opportunity of that happening is very much that's usually for business. That's the end goal, isn't it? To sell, to move on.
You work up to sell.
Yeah. Build it up to sell. So that was cool. There was a time in, I think it was 2018, 2019, where I started the year in January, just after New Year. I went off to the Bremont factory and had a tour of the Bremont factory. And I was still small. I had about 30,000 subscribers then. Went off to the Bremont factory. I thought, all right, this is pretty cool. Like first factory tour. Then 2 weeks later, I was at Roger Smith on the Isle of Man and sat down and had a whole day with Roger Smith looking around his workshop. Arguably one of the best watchmakers in the world. And I was kind of like, this is too early. I shouldn't be doing this. I'm not ready for this from the career point of I'm still relatively small, from the horological point of I've got so much more to learn. Although he taught me, like, it was literally a day's masterclass of watchmaking with Roger Smith, which was absolutely incredible. I still refer back to things that he told me back then. But in my journey, I feel like I shouldn't have gone there because I want to do that again. I can't do that again.
Yeah.
Because there's never going to be that opportunity of, oh my God, this is how you actually make a proper watch. It isn't a machine. This isn't a robot going. This is one guy filing down a little wheel. This is someone using a century-old lathe engine turning machine to create guilloche patterns on a dial. It's like this is how it's done, and I'll never get that experience again because you never get that wow moment for a second time. So there was an element of that afterwards, kind of like, probably shouldn't have done that. But then I do look forward to the time of going back and seeing Roger. Like we always catch up at watch events, and it's really cool. So yeah, that's I guess those are moments of, have I done it?
yeah. You kind of hit. I suppose there's always the trick is that you're never going to be where you want to be, and that's a good thing because you're always going forward.
Yes, yeah,
and that's how it should be. I think that after I did the thing with Canon, I thought, right, what else can I get my teeth into? The Chisholm Hunter channel, who had sponsored the podcast, and then also I thought, why don't I start a podcast? 'Cause I love talking to people. I love getting the ins and outs of their careers and their jobs, and I'm really interested in it. So I think it's just keep setting yourself new goals to work towards. When you hit one, be like, okay, well, that's great. I'll set myself another. And then you keep getting that endorphin rush of getting there.
Well, this is it. And then kind of going full circle back to the original thought around are the neurodivergency of ADHD and dyslexia beneficial? Like, yeah, kind of inherently. There's like that people with ADHD often get bored with projects, not because the project is boring, but because the tap of endorphins has kind of slowly been turned off. And that inherently means that you're always looking for the next thing. And so when you become comfortable in the current state, you're naturally going to think, okay, cool. So what's next? And that's just you evolving, you pushing forward onto the next business idea or next creative idea.
There was actually an experiment that was done with a rat in a maze, and what they did is they put a little bit of chocolate within the maze, and the rat went through the maze to find the chocolate, and when it hit the chocolate, it got this huge endorphin rush in its mind.
Right.
It hit the chocolate. They put the rat in the same maze and the chocolate in the same spot. The rat found the chocolate again a lot sooner because it was the same spot, and the endorphins went up, but they weren't like that great.
Yeah.
Then they did it again and again and again, and over time the endorphins were just neutral. Like even finding the chocolate through the maze, it wasn't finding anything. And it kind of goes back to that. If you become a creature of habit, which ADHD in a way kind of prevents you from going there because you do get so easily bored. If you become a creature of habit, you are naturally at a lower state of endorphins than if you were to do the next thing and to go into the next thing. So actually, in a roundabout way, ADHD kind of saves you from that consistency and lowering those levels.
Yeah.
And I think that I can kind of see that in you. You've got your podcast, you've got your business, you've got your YouTube channel. The YouTube channel's ever evolving and ever changing. The podcast's ever evolving and ever changing. You've got a new studio. You've got this. You need something to like level out your endorphins. Do you think you always need a project? Do you think that's something that you kind of have in your mind that you always need to be doing something?
Yeah, I always do have projects. I've always, and maybe that's why I've always been. I think entrepreneurial sounds like it has become a bit of a wanky term. I've always been someone looking for opportunity to do something. I sell watch straps, and a lot of people think that started because of the YouTube channel. I was selling watch straps years before YouTube because I took a flight with the family. The flight got cancelled. And we got 250. The flight, I think, cost about £45 each. We got 250.
How things have changed.
Yeah, we got 250 quid compensation for the cancelled flight. And so suddenly had 250 quid. Like, I don't need this. I didn't need it at the time. So I thought, what can I do? But cool, I want a watch strap. I'm not going to pay that much for the watch strap. So let's buy 500 of these watch straps from Europe and let's sell them on eBay. So then turn that 250 quid into quite a few thousands. And so it's always, and that was simply just a project of, I've got the day job, what else can I do? And so it's one of the things that going back to like looking for the endorphins or that dopamine hit. I used to think that I had an issue with sugar because I would often throw up from eating chocolate. And there's a weird thing with ADHD is once you do find that source of endorphins, that dopamine hit, you'll keep going back. And that's why you listen to songs on repeat. It's because your brain is satisfied with the dopamine hit from that song. Now, if I open a bar of chocolate, I will devour the whole thing. I'll feel sick. Wait 5 minutes. Sickness is gone. Start the next bar of chocolate. And I will eat until I am projectile vomiting. And then I realize, oh shit, maybe I've got, I don't know, like maybe I've got diabetes or something like that. Where my body's, no, dude, you're dopamine hitting on that chocolate to the point of you throwing up because your body can't deal with that much sugar and that much fat in your body. Whereas now it kind of flips the other way. And I now get a little dopamine hit when my body says, "We're really hungry." Yeah, cool. Let's enjoy that.
That's wild though, because I was looking at Drew there because we work together in the studio. I'll buy a pack of cookies for the studio. I'll smash the whole pack.
Yep.
It's like, oh, do you want? They're gone. Like, It's and I can't. I must be quite similar to you in that way that I can't draw the line between like maybe it's a pleasure thing in your brain.
It
like,
is a pleasure thing.
I can't not do. My ex-girlfriend used to have like one slice of a bar of chocolate. She'd eat it. She'd put the bar away. And I thought, what the fuck? I take it and I just devour it.
But it's because we're doing it for a different reason. We aren't doing it because our body desires chocolate or our body our body's hungry. We're doing it because our brain's just fucking bored.
Yeah.
And so I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD, and so I've been binge learning about it all, and the ADHD brain just kind of idle on a slightly lower happiness, slightly lower level of just being entertained than a neurotypical version, a person. And so we're always looking for that. Right, I'm feeling just not quite happy. How do I get happy? It's that song. Cool. I know that song works. Let's play that song again and again and again. Or that chocolate bar. I know. I used to eat Freddos, but like I'd get like 12 packs of Freddos, and I'd like 3 or 4 packs of the 12 packs.
Rookie numbers, Adrian. Work your way up.
And so but once you understand the kind of mechanics of it all, it's one, it's fascinating, but two, that's how you control it. That's how you. And this is why a lot of people with ADHD have alcohol problems or smoke and have addiction, because they know that's a source of entertainment or happiness. It's just false. It's all chemicals.
Do you, looking at the watch industry on YouTube, it's grown, especially over COVID, it's grown 10, 20, 30 times what it was when we started. I started maybe a year and a half ago. You were before me, but it's growing so fast. Do you think that the watch market on YouTube is kind of saturated now?
No, I don't, because I believe the cycle of people's motivations differ. And I think watches have become, over COVID, most certainly, but over the past, 5 years, 10 years, watches have suddenly become a lot more mainstream. Since COVID, they became epically mainstream because people had spare cash and they wanted to put it somewhere. And so watches then became cool, kind of like cars are cool, kind of like cameras are cool. Imagine how many photography channels have started because of Peter McKinnon and that. So I think a lot of people will see, perhaps watch YouTubers or just want to be making content about something cool, or just want to be YouTubers, and that's not the right motivation. That's how you get burnt out. That's how you lose your way. You have to just want to enjoy making videos. You have to enjoy the craft of that being your work and getting no reward for it for years and years. And not many people will be able to handle that. They just won't. So I don't think it's saturated, simply because a lot of the people who start will drop off and disappear. And those who stay will just stay because they're good, and that'll just be it. Also, I don't read or consume any. I'm not saying everyone's the same as me, but I'm not sure how much of a future there is in platforms like Houdinki. I think the distrust is so high in content like that it is it is a dying platform. The business model only has so many more years to go before it disappears or just turns into complete mainstream. And that's not throwing shade on Houdinki. I love the guys at Houdinki. It's just that business model is changing. And I feel like YouTube is such a massive platform. More people watch YouTube than they do TV. And so that's no. There's so many eyes, so many different opinions. And the fantastic thing around YouTube as a platform is, and the fact that there's so many people, you simply find the people who you like, people who talk about the watches that you like. And that's people will send me a message. Why don't you talk about micro brands? That's not my thing. Yeah. Go talk to Jody over just one more watch. That's his thing. Well, why don't you talk about horology? Not my thing. You go look at someone else. So that's the fantastic thing about so many YouTube channels is the specialization.
Do you think that you would edit videos for free if you could? Because you were saying about the passion for it, and that's when you get into YouTube, you can't do it because you want to be like someone else. It needs to come from you. It needs to come from the heart.
Well, not now I wouldn't, but essentially that's what you do at the start of YouTube. Is you're based on my experience, I didn't earn a penny for I think the first 2 years. I wasn't allowed to monetize because I messed up setting up AdBread. So they blacklisted me for a year. So that's not quite fair. But honestly, like you see cents trickling in, pennies trickling in. I remember like seeing 17p for a day. It's like this, and so when people think that YouTubers make a lot of money. They really don't. And unless it's like any business, it depends on how you build that opportunity to make money. But you spend years editing for free. I wouldn't do it now simply because I spend so much time doing my work that I just couldn't possibly justify it. But yeah, you have to graft.
I think on reflection of my trajectory into videography and photography, the first 5 years of me posting on Instagram, starting to post on YouTube, I earned nothing, but those were the happiest years I've ever had. Yeah. I remember I used to be insane. My ex used to tell me to sleep in the spare room because I'd be up at 2 a.m, packing my bag, going up a hill, filming it all by myself. I thought I got such an adrenaline and endorphin rush from doing that. Do you think as soon as you bring in a figure to something, you kind of get a bit more demotivated because you're getting paid for it?
Yes, I do agree, and that's actually what happened with music and why I left the production music production company. Well, the one that died, but that industry was I became so disconnected to the idea. I was taking on jobs not because it was art, but because I had rent to pay. And you suddenly think, this isn't what I want to do. I want to be recording rock bands. And the flip side of that was bands would come in who I'd like, and they'd be like, we can only afford 5 days of production. It's like, no, let's do 3 weeks. That's cool. And so essentially just working 2 weeks for free, but I wanted to do that art. And so that's kind of the challenge. But I think it's more to do with, for me, I struggled with the voice and the amount of views. I remember when my first video felt like it was going viral, not viral in the YouTube sense, but viral in the watch. I put a video up, and within the first couple of hours, it got 30,000 views. And this was when I had probably 20,000 subscribers, and so that was massive traffic, and I was legitimately scared. I thought, what have I done wrong? What's happened? I felt like I was being attacked just by this view count going up, and I miss those days of just having, like, going to the comments and I recognized everyone's name. And now you see the familiar faces or the familiar names, but sometimes random people turn up and you think, like, people are watching this, and that's concerning.
I remember we had a conversation off camera. I think it was in Zermatt or maybe it was in Swiss. I can't really remember. But you were saying that as a person, you're maybe quite awkward. Same with me. When people come up to you and recognize you, which by the way must have happened a lot, and I saw a lot of it happening at Watches and Wonders. do you kind of, how have you dealt with that? Have you kind of, is it something you get used to, or what's?
What I just think about is this is a fellow watch dude. Like, we're immediately friends. It's like seeing someone. I'm not into sport, but if you support a football team and you see someone else wearing the same shirt or wearing a scarf, your mates straight away. And so that's what I kind of feel like if someone comes up to me and says, you're Bark and Jack, or you're Adrian, or like yesterday, someone coming up, he's just pointed at me in the street. Just went out to grab a coffee. He's like, wait there.
I've got it. It's somewhere here.
Are you supposed to be in London? Yeah, I used to live in London. Yeah, watches. That's it. But immediately, we're mates. He's a watch guy. It's like there aren't many of us around, and so I feel like there's it's kind of like family. So it's cool now. But yeah, I understand the weirdness.
It is a lovely thing. After a while, I think it started happening like a year ago when I started posting to YouTube. Now it's a lot easier for me because I understand that the first port of call for my brain is, well, what you got on? Yeah. All right, cool. And then you have a discussion about that. And then, as you say, it's kind of like this, backstreet thing where you know each other through the watch industry and you can be friends through the watch industry. But I don't think it's just ever anything that I'll get used to. And I'm very a lesser scale than you. Do you, when you were filming the About Effing Time podcast, were you getting harassed in terms of just people keep interrupting and saying hi?
Yeah, so that was a real challenge because we, at Watches and Wonders, we gave ourselves 3 days to record, I think, about 5 long form episodes and I think 8 short form episodes.
Jesus.
That's B-roll as well as well as sitting down talking. So that is a huge amount of work. And so it was really tricky at Watches and Wonders because naturally you're in a room full of watch people.
Yeah.
And so the percentage of people who will recognize you
It's higher.
is very high because it's just a concentration. But it was getting to the point where I was late so we'd have a job to do, a video. Right, we're doing this video. Adrian, you go off with this shooter. Marcus, you're going to go with Andrew, and so on. So go off and capture our content, and I'll always be the last one back. And I don't want to be the dick and to say, sorry, man, I can't talk to you because I'm busy. But I was genuine. At the end, I had, I think, 20 minutes to catch my flight. And I wasn't even at the airport. I had to get from the location to the airport. And it was a matter of like, I'm sorry, dude, I've got to run.
Yeah.
It's either I say hi and be pleasant, or I lose my flight and I have to buy a new ticket. And so it was tricky.
Did you see that community growing? Like, do you think the future of watches lies obviously within that community, and the community is growing? Where do you kind of see it going? Do you see it continuing that trajectory?
Yes, I do. Yeah, and I think that's really exciting, and that's why I don't see other watch YouTubers as any form of competition, because we're all going to have a different opinion on something. But equally, the more of us, the better. The more people talking about watches on YouTube, the bigger the community is, and the more people will come to YouTube to absorb that, to enjoy that content. And so I feel that side of it's only going to get bigger. And I also feel like the pretentiousness, it might just be the algorithmic world that I'm in now, but I feel like the pretentiousness of watches is diluting massively. I feel like it no longer are there people in suits talking about watches, hiding their faces because they're concerned of security or something, or unboxing their fifth Patek. It's just normal people enjoying normal watches, and they're getting the views, and I think that's really cool. I think it's awesome to see people enjoying watches for what they are, not the status symbol that they historically carried. If that makes sense.
No, I get you. And what? It wouldn't be an Adrian Barker interview without your watches. What watches do you have in your collection, or what are your favorite watches that you have in your collection? Is maybe a more simple version because you've got quite a few.
Yeah, and it's always changing. So the watches I have in my collection, I've got the watch I'm wearing today is my 36mm Explorer, Rolex Explorer. This is a 14270 from 1998. It's my most favorite watch, and I've been wearing it constantly for the past 2-3 weeks. I've got a Rolex root beer, Rolex Explorer 2. I've got an Omega Seamaster.
You still got that?
Yeah, I don't wear it. I'm going to sell it because I've got a couple of watches. I've got a Zenith chronograph on loan at the moment, which I think is stunning. Is it cool? Oh, absolutely. The PR team have already asked for it back. I haven't quite made the video yet. Just do another 2 weeks on this.
What are your thoughts on Christopher Ward?
Amazing. Just insane. If any of my family or close friends who aren't watch people come to me and say, I want to watch, cool. It's always Christopher Ward, without a doubt. It just makes sense. If the budget would go to Tudor, then I'd say that the same way that people see Tudor as value for money is exactly the same percentage ratio with Christopher Ward.
Because we got one in. Firstly, there's the quality in the looks, which are stunning. They just are, and the build quality for the price is phenomenal. But I felt, I'm not sure if you felt this as well, their marketing team, I emailed them thinking they're never going to email back. We don't stock them at Chisholm Hunter. They're online only. And within a day, they were like, yeah, we'll send you out the sample, don't worry about it. And there was no, you need to sign this waiver to sign your life away, and if you break the watch, you're in jail. it wasn't any of that. It was like, yeah, we'll send you the watch. Here's the watch. When would you be able to get it back to us? All right, here? Okay, right, fair enough. By the way, you can get a discount because you're a creator.
Yeah.
Their marketing was phenomenal. Did you deal with
do you know why that is?
Why?
Because Patrick in the marketing team interned for Bark and Jack.
Did he?
Yeah, for 18 months.
Claim to fame.
I didn't get him that job there, but we had a gig where I needed to interview Mike France from Christopher Ward and Roger Smith as part of the Alliance, an Alliance interview, and I thought it'd be useful to have Patrick there, so I got Patrick on the thing and told Mike, Patrick's going to graduate uni soon, marketing, if you need a job. So now he's like a manager for the marketing team and sorts out all the YouTube creators with the watches. They're a company who really aren't pissing about, and that's. I'm still not a fan of the brand name Christopher Ward. I don't like that. I actually like the Plus logo now. But what I like about them is just how open and honest they are about their processes, where the components are made. Christopher Ford, like, yeah, these guys in Switzerland make that part. We have a movement made over there. Our dials are done by this dude. It's like that's how it should be.
Yeah, honest.
Yeah, be proud of the people who make your shit. Don't think that we have to hide it, because no one believes that. Yeah. Literally, no one believes it. So no, I've got a lot of love for Christopher Ward.
The days of those marketing, the days of that kind of marketing, that kind of hide in the shadows is gone.
It has to be, and it's, Bremont are still messing up by trying to push a story which just doesn't make sense. But that being said, it only doesn't make sense for the watch community, and we still make a tiny percentage of the people who are actually buying watches. If you think of the watch market, it isn't us propping up the market.
We just talk about it.
We just talk about it. Yeah, we just talk about it. It's Joe Blogs, the guy walking down the street who doesn't really care, but they just enjoy it.
What do you think is next for you in the career? You've got a successful podcast, a successful business, a successful channel. What's next?
See, I don't see anything. I see them successful so far as I'm in control of my time, and I do feel successful in that respect. Commercially, there's just so much more I could do, and that's just down to my ADHD and inability to stay focused on a task. So the next step is I have to hire some sort of operations person. So I've got ideas coming out my bloody head, on my ears, and I just need to find someone who isn't bothered about ideas. They just want to do stuff
and bring them to fruition.
Yeah, that's some. I wouldn't hire my brother, but my brother's a fantastic project manager. He'll take a project and he'll just create these insane processes on how to go from point A to point B and make a success of it and do it within a budget. I need to find someone who wants to do that for a very small business.
I'm sure you will. I think there's people out there that would really like to work with you, and I know that I'm
so sure they wouldn't like to work with me, but they might like the idea.
You like the idea. But I remember when I was first starting the channel, and Drew and I were hard at work, but we didn't really know where we were going, and there was quite a lot of that failure involved. I remember you being so open and being like, no, this is what to do, and you used to do this. And I remember being in the car back with you from Zermatt. I can't remember where we are. Well, Zermatt or Switzerland. I can't remember exactly why it was. And you took a look at the titles and said, why are you labeling it that? And I said, let's get the SEO here. Yeah, but would you click on that? And I was like, fuck. No, I wouldn't. So you've been so like, you're such a giving person. And I think that's the way that it should be.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. And it all comes back down to no one is in competition. There's so many eyeballs in the world. There's so much money in the world. But businesses don't need to be in competition with each other because there's so much money going around and there's enough for everyone. There's enough eyes in the world. There's enough money in the world. And I feel like, generally speaking, the watch community is like that. Watch YouTube community is like that. Nico did the same with me a couple of months ago. Nico's got the biggest watch channel, without a doubt, by a long way. And he's going through my video titles. So change that. Let's do that. Why are you doing this? We need to label things like that. It's like, yes, we need each other to be big and successful, and we all benefit from that. So it's a very healthy position to be in, to be in an industry where we can support each other and still be successful. I think that's cool.
Yeah. So do I. I think that there has been, especially within the music industry, which Drew used to be in, it can be very cutthroat. It can be very, I'm not helping you because I want the relationship with this person and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And it's just not a healthy way to live. And you're not going to grow the industry by having that shallow-minded thought of, I'm going to be bigger ego.
Yeah.
And I think that by helping people, you actually feel better about yourself.
Yes.
And when it comes for them to help you later down the line, they will. If you looked back in your career and picked one of the most valuable lessons you've ever learned, what do you think it would be?
So there was a time at Apple where I think my boss, my manager, got taken away. I can't remember what happened. This is going back like 10 years. my manager got taken away to work on another team, and my team, which was a relatively mature team, I'd say I was probably one of the youngest on the team. No, I was one of the youngest on the team, and the oldest was probably about 55. So quite a mature team, and we didn't have a leader, didn't have a manager, and we were a very high performing team globally. We were the global center of training for Apple, so I was a high performing team, and we couldn't be shit. And we were becoming shit because we didn't have any leadership. We didn't have any. No one was looking after us. No one was looking. Was controlling what we were doing. And so I thought, right, cool. I just like the idea of a manager. I'll do it. I'm just going to make myself the manager and get on with it. And I started doing that. And naturally, the team rebelled against me. And there was 2 moments where I thought, I'm pretty shit at being a manager. And one of the most challenging guys, a mate of mine, but within the team, he was a challenging character. He came up to me and said, Adrian, we're pushing back because we're just accepting what you're doing. We don't like the idea of what you're doing, but that doesn't mean it's a wrong idea. And that happened at the same time. I think probably maybe 20 minutes earlier, I was downstairs in the manager's office and I was complaining to a manager mate of mine about the situation, just thinking, like, I just can't. I'm not connecting with the team. I just can't do it. And again, a high-performing character. She was an ex-Australian female professional cricketer. She was a high manager in Apple. And she came over and she's like, I just overheard what you're talking about. You just have to know that if you truly believe what you're doing is right, keep doing it. You can't, just because your team aren't happy doesn't mean your decision's wrong. And that's, I think about that all the time. And sometimes I'll say something on a YouTube film and the people will be in the comments go, oh, what are you talking about? You don't know anything. It's like, you might be upset, but I'm not wrong. Yeah. just talking about facts here. If you remove the emotion, this is still the outcome. And so that's what I feel is what we should do. We often feel like we have to fit within this societal mold. That's not necessarily right. You can do something else and still be right.
I just want to say, on a final note, I kind of said it a bit earlier, but I'll say it again. Whenever Drew or I are having any problems, or whenever we don't really know what to do, or there's, I remember asking you about these studio mics when we were looking at the podcast, and I just want to say a huge thank you from not just us, but the millions of people that watch you and are inspired by you, of which there's lots, and also the openness and how honest you've been with me and the team. It's been incredible, and you don't find that often. I think we're really lucky to be in the industry we're in, partially due to that. And if it wasn't for you, the podcast mics would be different. So I want to seriously thank you very much.
Oh no, I appreciate that, and I'm honestly always happy to help because we help each other, and we do. It's the world's better for that.
Exactly.
The world, that's a bit grand.
We're better for that.
We're better for that. We aren't the world.
No, thank you very much, mate. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of the Into the Mind podcast. Please remember that our sponsors are Chisholm Hunter. If you're looking for any watches or jewellery, head to chisholmhunter.co.uk. But before you do that, if you'd hit that subscribe button, 5-star button, whatever it is, wherever you are, I would really, really appreciate it. And I'll be back